From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Happy Masters Week Tuesday, everybody. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman here with the sports director, Bailey Burmaster. Bailey, how you feeling?
I feel great. It's only Tuesday, but got to spend yesterday at the Masters, so that was a lot of fun. We continue into a fun week where golf is concerned. It's going to be an interesting week. We were just talking. You're not the biggest golfer.
Well,
Fair to say.
Look, Masters is different. Masters is kind of like Daytona when it comes to race car driving. Even though you may not be the biggest race car person, you're into stuff like Daytona. So I think same with the Masters. Masters is so big, especially when Tiger Woods is going to participate, to where it's enough to get some interest.
Yes. So my favorite thing about the Masters is it brings in a lot of maybe average viewers of golf who maybe don't know a bunch of good storylines.
Okay. No,
So I will run through some of my favorite storylines from this week and maybe things we've covered as well.
Okay.
So obviously you can't talk about Masters or golfing without Tiger. He has not been in part of any event since mid-February, and he pulled out in that event because of an illness. Obviously, he had that leg trouble from that car crash that changed a lot for him in 2021. He says the leg feels good, but there's times where you have to compensate so much that it ends up impacting your back or your other leg. Like there's just other things compensating.
It always starts that way, right? He always says he feels good, but then he ends up fading.
Correct. And I was trying to think, he hasn't played like a full tournament in quite some time, which I think people fail to realize.
It's a shame.
Like the worst thing that could happen for him is any sort of rain situation that would push them back a day where he has to play more than 18 holes in a single day.
Right.
So you don't want that because fatigue will really set in. But he was asked if he feels like he still has, not even it, but could he get another green jacket? And he said if all things fall into place, yes. So I think for him it is putting together the piece of physical ability and actually playing good golf and putting it together for a full weekend.
It's kind of like LeBron James, right? Where when you look at him now, he's still a great player, obviously, but he's probably not at the top of your when you're thinking about the teams that could win a championship, but you can never rule him out because of who he is, right?
Correct.
Same thing with Tiger.
So everyone was out watching Tiger. He was all over the greens. I will say you can. Like, he looked to be moving really well, but you can still tell that there is a difference in how he walks after that car crash. Everyone will be looking at John Rahm as well. He won last year. He held the Champions Dinner tonight, so they will have food from his origin country of Spain, so tapas are included. He said that's a really big on-taking because you have to get up there and talk and be in front of all these people, and sometimes that can be intimidating.
Think they can bring us back some of that food?
I wish, right? Because the food at the Masters is fantastic.
Right.
Scotty Scheffler, still the betting favorite. He's number one in the world right now, playing really well. If his short game is on par, it's going to be really hard to not see him walk away with this thing.
Well, he's got my first name, so I mean, of course he's a favorite.
Right, there you go. Then let's see who else is in the mix a little bit. You have a lot of first-timers. I think of Wyndham Clark. He is someone who won the U.S. Open. I believe it was the U.S. Open last year. And he has a really hard story with his mom passing during a crucial time in college when he was playing golf, and he really has played for her and was always hoping to get to the Masters, and he gets to the Masters for the first time. He'll tee off with Victor Hovland on Thursday, who both went to Oklahoma State, and Victor Hovland is coming off a really, really good run last year. If you remember, he won the Tour Championship here, the FedEx Cup, and then he decided to take a lot of time off and then started working with a different hitting coach. And that was interesting move because he was playing some of his best golf, so everyone was kind of questioning, hey, why did you do this? And he said just because he was playing his best golf, some of the areas he felt like he could improve in doesn't mean they were getting better. And sometimes it's just decisions need to go and be made.
For sure.
I'm trying to think of any other ones. I'm sure there's some big names.
Had to throw an Oklahoma State guy, huh?
Had to. I will say this, from when we covered yesterday, It was an awesome experience. The Masters is super pristine. They
Yes.
keep it up really well. But something I loved is the people. Everyone was so happy to be there, and so many people were just so nice. Like, everyone was there having a good time. Lee and I were out there. We had the mic, we had the camera,
Yeah.
and people would be like, "Oh, do you want to interview me?" And I was like, "Yes, I actually do." Like, when you do an MOS
dope.
and news, you have to go up to people and be like, "Do you mind talking to me?" And they're like, "No, I don't want to do it." I didn't have to do that. People would come up to me and be like, "Oh, do you want to talk to me?"
Good times.
So it was a good time. There was the eclipse. Everyone was tuning in for the eclipse.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Tomorrow's the par 3 contest, which is always good for people's families to get in the mix and everyone to kind of be lighthearted before
Yeah.
all the action starts on Thursday. Obviously, there's a lot of Georgia Bulldogs.
Yep.
So we talked to Brian Harmon. He says it's always nice to be back in Augusta. He says, brought up his hunting. He was talking about it all. There's also a Georgia Tech individual, Christo Lamprecht,
Of course.
who is from South Africa, and he is 6'8".
Nice.
You cannot miss him, but it is his first Masters. Our Emily Gagnon actually got to sit down with him.
Not quite the way you start with the first 2 days, but then you kind of salvaged a little bit. You made a little bit of a run. When you hit that kind of adversity, like what's your mindset like when you face that adversity? How do you overcome it?
Yeah, I think as a golfer and playing a sport where you very rarely have your A game, you kind of have to work with what you have. And for me, that was kind of the whole motto of the week, is I wasn't hitting it good whatsoever, and it was just like, okay, how are we going to find this golf ball in the hole for the least amount of shots? So yeah, final day, got off to a nice start and kind of just try to do the best I could.
And I guess kind of turning now into just going forward from now. I guess where's the team at right now?
So I believe right now we're about top, I think between 10 and 20 in the country, somewhere around there. So yeah, we got a great team. We got 3 guys that are still in the team from last year that made it to the national championship final match. So a lot of experience, there's no doubt about that. We got 2 freshmen, and I think it's just, if we can find the balance of the experienced guys doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the young guys kind of learning as much as they can, and come June, they'll be ready for a national championship again.
What does it feel like to just be at that spot? Because there are so many thousands of athletes that would love to be up there.
Yeah.
You know?
I think partially it's obviously nice because you know that you're doing something right and you're playing really consistently good golf, and not just having one good weekend. You're playing consistently golf pretty good, better than most. So for me, it's obviously nice knowing you're doing something correctly and you're playing pretty good golf. But in the same sense, you're at a spot where everyone wants to be at, so everyone's always going to chase you. So it's always hard to stay at the top of the mountain. So for me, it's kind of just focusing on what I can control and getting better at myself.
Talking about the Masters, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, playing in any major as a golfer is kind of where you want to compete, and that's where every golfer wants to play every single week in and week out. They want to play the biggest tournaments in the world. They want to play against the best, and they want to play for the most coveted trophies. So to be doing that as an amateur before I even turned pro is a great privilege, is an honor. There's not many guys that can say they played the Masters as an amateur. So for me, it really is a true honor, and it's a great experience, and I really can't wait for it.
So you being an amateur, is there any like mentally, is there any difference between being being amateur, do you think, versus being a pro and being in there, or is it just you're there?
I think a lot of people might say it's a different mentality, and as an amateur, you don't know what's going on and blah, blah, blah. But for me, as a competitor, I think I've earned my spot to be there just as much as any other guy in that field. So yeah, they might be the best players in the world, but I've also earned my way in there, so I deserve to be there. So yeah, I'm just going to go play out and try to play against the golf course, and that's the great thing about playing golf, is you don't play against the other guys in the field, you just play against the golf course. So if I can beat the golf course and play as good as I can, then all will take care of itself.
So being from South Africa, did you ever dream of possibly being at the Masters one day? Like, did you ever think that was a possibility? I mean, because like to me, being from America, that just seems like such a pardon the pun, foreign idea that, you know, somebody from South Africa can come over here, and then it just so happens that you come to Georgia Tech, and then it just so happens that one of the most prestigious golf tournaments in the world is only a couple hours south.
Yeah. For me personally, it's been a dream. I think every kid that plays golf and wants to aspire to be a great golfer has that dream of standing on the putting green, practicing late at night, and thinking about this is the one putt to win the Masters as a 7, 8-year-old kid. So I've always dreamt it. Not always certain moments didn't think it was going to happen, or didn't really see it happening anytime soon. So for me, it's obviously a privilege, and it's kind of a showcase to how much better I'm getting and how much better golf I'm playing. So yeah, it truly is kind of a dream come true, and I can't wait for it.
Now I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but if you perform well and you do end up winning, you'd be the 4th South African to win. What does that mean? Because South Africa, they've got a rich history of golf. But what would that mean for you to capture that trophy, for them?
Yeah, I think I'm proudly South African, no doubt about it. Like you said, South Africa's got one of the greatest histories, and for a small country, we've had a lot of good golfers over the years. So yeah, it truly is always a pride and an honor for me to represent my country. And any way I could do that with any result is awesome. And obviously, if somehow I can put the green jacket on my back on Sunday, that'll be awesome too. So it always is a privilege to be a South African.
Have you talked to any of them, Sorrel player, anybody? Or have they given you any kind of?
Yeah, Louis kind of my mentor. He's always been around for the last 5 years, kind of really helping me grow as a player off the golf course and on the golf course too. So I've definitely picked his brain a couple of times, and I will do more so leading up to the week. But yeah, it's nice to kind of get that extra information in your head and what the do's and don'ts is of the week and what to do in a certain big event like that, coming down a certain moment. But it's always the learning curve, and I just got to take all the experience I have and use that.
And I guess what made you? And I know this is kind of I guess a lot of people are going to be like intrigued. Just what made you come here? Out of all the places you could have been in the world, why Georgia Tech?
So I believe that college golf was kind of always a thing for me. I wanted to come play college golf, and if you look at it, you said it, 3 of the 4 majors are in America, and this is kind of the mecca of golf in America. So for me, I've always wanted to come to college golf, and it so happened to be that our head coach here at Georgia Tech has spent 2 or 3 years of his life in South Africa and kind of knows where I'm from, and so that helped a lot. And the program's amazing, Georgia Tech's amazing, great school. So it was a pretty easy decision for me, and I'm thankful for making that one.
Do you ever get homesick? I know, like you said, it's been what, 3.5 years since your parents have been over here?
Yeah, so obviously I go home luckily about once or twice a year at least. So yeah, obviously there's some days that you want mama's home cooked food, but no, truly I've loved every second of it here. So it's not like I've been really hating anything or really wanting to go home so badly, but I'm chasing my dreams over here and I'm loving it. But obviously there's some days when you want to hang out with special friends that you haven't seen in a while, but there's a time and place for everything, and I'll be grateful to have my parents here in a month's time.
So you said you might want some mama's home cooking, but you just said that South African barbecue is better than Southern barbecue.
Yeah, so mom's home cooking and dad's barbecuing combined is home food. So anything mom puts on the stove or dad barbecues, it's pretty amazing.
Did you ever envision yourself like being at this point in your life? Just going to college like in a different place, in a totally different continent, being as highly ranked and performing as well as you are with the best in the world, being pro in a sport where a lot of people would love to be able to do that, and then also just being here in Georgia. It's like, hey, does it all, like when you look back on everything that you've experienced, does it just kind of make you go like, wow, I can't believe that happened?
Yeah, it's definitely some days it's kind of a realization of how privileged I am. There's no doubt about it. For me, it's partially of a lot of the hard work and kind of dedication that comes into it, and it's like I kind of deserve to be here, but in the same sense as so many other guys that work hard could be here too, and it's just a privilege that I am. So for me, it's a dream come true. I'm kind of living the dream. Some days I wake up in the morning and I pinch myself a little bit. But yeah, there's so many things to be thankful for, and I truly am blessed to be in this situation. But in the same sense, it's kind of I've been dreaming of this kind of building up my whole entire life into this moment. So I've envisioned it from a kid and kind of manifested, if you will say. So that's kind of been something that I've always seen happening. It's just kind of some days it feels like it's closer, and some days it feels like it's further away. And but for me, truly, it's been a great experience up until now.
And my last question: what does it mean to be a tech man?
What does it mean to be a tech man? I think it's the way I can define it's being a well-rounded human being. I think so many colleges these days focus on the sport of it. I think tech just kind of, what I've learned here at tech is I've become a better person and become a better golfer. Whether that's in school, whether that's working out in the mornings, whether that's training hard and kind of spending my whole 24 hours up and running and doing something, I've kind of become a better person and a better golfer and a better academic person too. So it's just becoming a better all-around person, and I think that's what's so amazing about this program.
And I just got actually one more, last one, swear. You're talking about hard work. Most people don't get to see it, obviously, but they just see the end result.
How many golf balls do you think you've hit in your life, and how many do you think you hit on a daily basis?
So I've had this question asked. We talked about it, funny enough, and I guess the number you could estimate was pretty somewhere, I guess now until from the first time I hit a golf ball when I was 3 years old till now, it's probably somewhere in a million. I don't know. But I mean, for me, it's for every golfer that really loves the sport, this kind of doing this out here is the fun part. And obviously the results is incredible. When you lift the trophy of any tournament that you win is always fun, and it's kind of the relief of, and the kind of the result behind all the hard work and blood and sweat and tears that goes into it. But for me, this is the fun part. I enjoy coming out here and hitting a bunch of golf balls and figuring stuff out, and when there's a problem, find a solution. So obviously a lot of people don't see the hard work and they don't see what gets put into it. But as a golfer and as a professional athlete that you aspire to be one day, this is kind of the stuff that you should be dreaming of.
Bailey, did you check out the NCAA Men's Championship game last night?
I did a little bit of it. We were coming back from the Masters, but I did tune in. I don't think there was ever a doubt. Like, if you were watching UConn play, they were just far superior than a lot of the other teams. I was cheering for Zach Edey a little bit just because, Purdue got knocked out, then they make it the whole run. He's just this massive human being. And
well, that was the thing. Last night he faced a team that had another massive human being in Donovan Klang, and probably a couple NBA bodies going at it right there. But for me, when you look at UConn, that's one of the more solid teams. I mean, a tremendously dominant playoff run. Brett, one of our producers over here, reminded me that the closest game they had in this run was a 14-point victory over Alabama.
That's wild.
That's as close as anyone came to beating them. So when you look at this team, this is one of the more dominant NCAA championship runs that has been in a long time. And they did it with a lot of NBA bodies. They have a couple guys there who were seen as first-round picks. But when you looked at their team all the way around, what Danny Hurley is building there is like, almost like a mini version of an NBA team, right? I mean, he's got NBA size, athleticism, big men in the paint. That's one of the most solid teams all the way around. And from the time you watch them midseason to last night, like you said, it looked like it was no doubt in anybody's mind that they were going to win the championship. Maybe so much in the fans' mind too, because 4 million less people watched last night's championship game than the women's championship game, which I guess you can look at that as a really good thing, right?
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think it was Paige Buckets that basically said
Paige Buckets.
That's what we like to call her that.
Paige Buckets. I like it.
I think she said something of like, isn't it crazy that people can name more women's basketball players in college right now than they could men's? Which is definitely the case. And it puts women's basketball on the map. I mean, how do you not like Dawn Staley? I don't know if you saw, because you're from Cleveland. Oh, yeah. After they won, she came back on the court and did one-on-one interviews with any media that stayed behind.
That's pretty dope.
For like an hour. That's awesome.
Yeah.
People appreciate that, and she loves to give love to her team. So it just a heck of a coach too.
Dawn is tremendous for college basketball. Just what she's built over there at South Carolina. She's built a UConn-like team on the women's side at South Carolina with how strong they are and what they have there. I mean, completely new lineup, new starting five, and they won a national championship. But I just think all the way around, just as far as look, it's not a bad thing that I think the women's game, is kind of growing how it is. I think it's a great thing, and I think the biggest thing that can come from this is that I hope it grows into the WNBA, right?
Yep.
Because you have obviously stars, coming from very known stars with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark now going to the WNBA.
Yeah.
This is a very crucial time for them, I think, to build on this and grow on this and just find ways to be able to grow this into the pro game.
Yeah, and there's people who don't think that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will find success quickly in the WNBA. And I think it's going to tell us a lot about the game, whether they do or don't.
Yeah,
Because of how superior they are in college, what is that gap? What does it truly look like?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think if that is a big gap, I think that's good for the game of pro basketball, because I think it means that it's growing and it's to a point to where you can't just come from college and dominate because the players are that much better, So I think that's a good thing. UGA spring game this weekend. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. G-Day, right? G-Day is what it's called. So, look, it'll be a really good chance. Obviously, UGA is going to have some new pieces out there all the way around the quarterback, Carson Beck. But, on the defensive side of the ball, Kirby always makes sure that's really strong. They do have some good veterans coming back on the defensive side of the ball. Malachi Starks, he's one of the guys coming back. He's probably going to be a preseason All-American. Really, really versatile, strong, versatile player in that secondary. He has first-round pick written all over him, right? And so he had a chance to get up there and talk today before G-Day to really talk about, at this point in his career, being more of a veteran, role model for the rest of the young guys on that defense that they're going to try to be replacing so they can make another championship run. Check it out.
Just talk about this spring, how difficult it's been for you to be just kind of a limited participant, and what kind of leadership role have you taken, with some of the young guys and new guys in that room?
Yeah, it's tough. I haven't been out for this long since I started playing football, so just for me to sit out and not be able to do stuff. I just started doing indie not so long ago, so I'm able to get back into it a little bit, but I guess it's a blessing in disguise. It's teaching me how to lead from a different point of perspective and how to be there for the younger guys and also the older guys. We got a very mix between old guys and young guys in the DB room, so it's kind of just teaching me how to get to everybody, how to connect with certain people.
Yeah, what would you say are the biggest things you've learned about yourself, about the defense, just from watching the spring from another perspective, kind of being on the sidelines more than you've been in the past? I say probably just knowing the defense. Like when you got to sit there and watch, it teaches you to watch different things. Usually you just kind of pay attention to what I got to do it beside me and do it in front of me. But like you see everything when you're just sitting there watching and trying to coach everybody up. So that's probably the biggest thing. And for myself, probably just being more vocal. Not being able to be out there has forced me to speak up a little more, and just be that voice that we need.
Malachi, what stood out to you from the competition at safety this spring, just all those different guys and how they've been competing to this point in spring?
Right. There's a bunch of depth in that room. That room is very competitive. And just to watch everybody go out every day and try to just compete, beat the guy in front of them, but still in a healthy way. Healthy competition is what we talk about a lot in that room, and I see it, from every guy, older to youngest guy in there to the oldest guy in there. They're all going out there and competing, trying to get better every day. So, it's a good thing to see.
I would ask you about KJ Bolden. He kind of comes in with a lot of hype, another Georgia guy from sort of your area.
Right.
Have you tried to take him under your wing, or is it? I know you try to take all the young guys under your wing, but I just wonder if you see a little connection there or some similarities between you and KJ.
Yeah, he's very athletic, very smart. Just like all the young guys that came in with him, they all have talents that they possess. But he's very he's like a sponge, he just wants to soak up all the knowledge and all the information. You see him in meetings, he's just writing stuff down, and I think the thing that shocked me the most, I think all the freshmen have that. You know, like I watch them in meetings and they're all taking notes, they're all writing stuff down. So I think that class is going to be very good.
Is it fair to say you remind you of yourself a little bit?
A little bit. I'd say that just a little bit. Yes, sir.
Malachi, how long was the shoulder injury kind of lingering that you needed to get worked on? And when you talk about doing India practice, like how many minutes are you actually doing something?
I'd say it's tough because I had tweaked it during fall camp, and then I want to say third or fourth game into the season, I kind of felt it, and it just wasn't how it's supposed to be. And then I figured out before the Bama game that I had to get surgery, and I decided to wait until after FSU. And I got that done, and probably I'm doing all the Indy. I just can't have any contact, so I'm doing drills and everything that doesn't involve hitting I'm doing. So.
Why was it important for you to play in that Florida State game, knowing that you had to have this surgery and knowing that it might cost you some time this spring?
I think there's a few things that played into it. One, the guys that I played with last year, I won't get to play with them again this year, or ever probably, unless we get on the same team when we get to a higher level. And that connection that we built, that bond that we had on that team was special. And two, the job wasn't finished. A lot of people had opted out, which there's nothing wrong with that. But there was still a game to play, and just because it wasn't the game we wanted to play or whatever the case may be, I just wasn't going to just sit out and treat it like it wasn't nothing.
We got to speak to Ja'Cory Thomas last week, and he got to know him a little bit. Just what kind of guy is he behind the scenes, and what have you seen out of him?
Yeah, Ja'Cory's like my best friend, man. He's a character for sure. But you could tell he loves the game of football. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. And just to see his growth that he's taken from even from like the last practice to this spring, when we practiced at FSU, he had a really good practice, and that transition into the spring. So he's getting better day by day. So it's really good to see his growth.
Just what about his just behind the scenes? You guys are best friends.
Yeah, he's a fool, man. He loves to laugh a lot. He's a foodie. I guess you would call it a foodie. I don't know the name for it. I guess that would be it. But he loves it, man, and he's just always trying to make somebody smile.
Yeah, y'all added Jake Pope out of the transfer portal, the guy y'all came out of high school in the same class.
Right.
What's your relationship with him like dating back to high school, if you have one, and what's it like now seeing him in the meeting room on the practice field on a daily basis?
So I knew Jake a little bit in high school. I didn't know him, like we weren't best friends or anything, but I knew him in high school. And just to see him come in from Bama and just the knowledge that he has from Bama come into here, we kind of pick back forth off each other, like, hey, what'd y'all do there? Like, how was it there? Whatever the case is, just trying to pick his brain and see the differences. But our relationship is good. He's one of the older guys in the room, so he has that voice also. So just to see him come in and just to see him grow, I'm seeing him grow as well. So it's a good thing to see.
Malachi, this is kind of old news, but I kind of want to get your perspective. I was just thinking about this the other day. You guys had a great season last year, but there were 6 straight games that other teams scored on the opening drive, and you're on the back end of that.
Right.
So you had the view in your lap. What do you learn? Does this year's team look back on that like, I guess Lewisine always would say we're not as good as you guys think. How much of a sense of urgency comes from last year's issues, and how did you navigate that? Kirby ended up he told a joke about it and then it stopped the next game.
Right.
How did you guys navigate that?
I think the biggest thing is we take pride in defense here. And that's the biggest thing. And, we always didn't play how we wanted to. We always finished how we wanted to, but we never played how we wanted to. You're never going to play a perfect game. And I think the thing that we just did was just try to hone in on the things that were important, when it plays defense, it takes first level, second level, and third level. So, if they score, you just can't say, oh, it was the linebackers, oh, it was the D-line, the safety missed a fit. If they score, it's for something wrong at all 3 levels. So we just all tried to be on the same page, and taking that from last year to this year, just making sure everybody is on the same page. We all have the sense of urgency, knowing what's important.
Not having been able to been out there as much as you probably would have liked, just what defines a successful spring to you?
Probably how much I can learn and affect others. I think that's the biggest thing for me in my role right now is being able to affect other people, whether if it's young guy, old guy, GA, coach, it doesn't matter. Just bringing that energy, knowing that every day I came out there and I was the same guy no matter what. Yeah, I can't practice, but I'm not going to sit around and just pout about it. Like I want everybody to get better. I want to see the defense grow. So just being able to just learn and teach, really.
You kind of talked about that Alabama look, and obviously you've got a coach from Alabama,
Right.
in Traverse Robinson. What is the experience like being able to work with him and talk with him, especially not being on the field, and just what's it been like to pick his brain a little bit?
Right. I mean, it's been awesome. You know, he actually got here, and our first meeting, he like if you closed your eyes, you would think Muschamp was talking. So I was like, I went to me, I was like, did Muschamp give you a script, like, of what to say when you got here? Like, y'all saying the same things? I mean, I forgot they've been together for a long time, but, you know, he's very knowledgeable about the game, and just to see him come in from another perspective, you know, again, from Bama, seeing what they did and things that they've done, and, you know, he just brings a different perspective and a different type of energy to the room. You know, I haven't been able to be out there, but I meet with him a lot. He runs in the morning and every day at 5. And he told me, and I texted him Monday, and I texted him at 4:30. I was like, yo, you up? He didn't text me back. I was already here because I was trying to beat him here. He didn't text me back, so I started running. He calls me at 5 o'clock. He's like, where you at? I'm like, I'm in indoor. He's like, come outside. So we start running. We run 2 miles or whatever. And after that, we went up and watched film. So just that connection I'm starting to build with him, you know, it's very special. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Malachi, when you look to Saturday and G-Day, more so as a defensive back, what is a successful G-Day for the secondary, you know, coming out of that game and saying, okay, we accomplished this?
Right. I'd say just going out there and compete, you know, everybody being on the same page, just seeing guys wanting to know what the job is and how to get it done, and just going out there and compete. Because, you know, like I like to say we play the hardest position on the field. You know, we're going to give up the ball time to time, but it's always about the next play. So, I mean, it's going to happen, but I want to see guys, when it does happen, how do they respond? So I think that'll say a lot about the room that we have.
You're a guy who's earned a lot of their NIL opportunities. How have you balanced sort of managing that portfolio of things that you have there while also still obviously prioritizing your development as a player at Georgia?
I think honestly the best answer I could give you is probably I keep the main thing. You know, the NIL is great. I love it. But, you know, my whole goal before I got to college, because it wasn't a thing when I got here, and my whole goal was to come here and get developed and go to the league, and I keep that the main thing. And, I mean, I got a great team with me. I'm with ESM. They do a great job. They take a lot of load off of me. But, you know, I just try to stay focused on the main thing.
One more. You talked about KJ earlier. There's obviously a lot of talented young guys on the defensive side of the ball. Just what does it take to play as a freshman in this defense?
I think you gotta know the defense. You don't have to know it perfect. You don't gotta be a master of the defense, but you have to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And you also have to have effort. People got to be able to count on you. Like if I can look over there and know what you're gonna do, and I can count on you to do your job, then you can play. And that goes not just for freshmen, but anybody in the room. If you can be accountable and you have effort, then you'll play in the defense. That's all.
Now, who knows, Bailey, if we'll see Malachi this weekend. He's been sort of banged up here in the spring. But look, the important part is that he'll be back for the season. So, silly season. Speaking of the season, this is always silly season, right? NFL.com comes out with their list of who the Falcons should draft, right? And so, of course, they went pass rusher. Do you agree, Bailey? They want the Falcons to take Dallas Turner, the pass rusher from the University of Alabama.
I think so. I agree with this.
Seems like that's the pick, huh?
I think it should be. Will it be? I don't know. I feel like I always say these things and then they go the opposite direction. So how much do I know, I guess. But I think it needs to be defense. I think it needs to be a pass rusher. So I like that. But that's probably the prediction that everyone thinks. And so who knows how the board falls.
Right. Well, I do think it's kind of interesting, though, that they worked out Michael Penix like they did last weekend, too. I mean, they sent a heavy contingent, coach, general managers to see him work out. Kind of interesting, right? I mean, I don't think they're going to pick a quarterback in the first round, but it sort of gets you to thinking, like, maybe they're thinking about their future. Kirk Cousins coming off an injury. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows, right?
I don't. I think they're doing the due diligence. They need someone to come in to learn behind Kirk Cousins. It's not going to be Taylor Heineke.
Right.
So you need to get a guy this year or next year to start that, planting the seed process.
All right, real quick, anything special on your mind?
U.S. Women's National Team set a record at the Benz this weekend
was there.
on domestic soil. Did you get the goal in the first minute?
I did. I was right there. I was right by the net.
I meant to ask you that, and I never got to.
I was right by the net. As soon it caught me off guard. They were coming right at me in the goal. I was the first camera right by the net, so I was all over it.
We love that.
Let's go. Hey, look, Sports Tonight here on a Tuesday. Bailey, always a pleasure, always a lot of fun. We'll be back at it tomorrow with more Sports Tonight, as we have a lot of sports the rest of the week, so stay tuned. Later.